Hi there, I'm Jen, this is Remembered Reads, and this is going to be a TBR and challenge prompt discussion for March Mystery Madness, which is just a couple of days away. We're in the middle of a snowstorm right now, so the lighting may be a little weird, but the benefit of a snowstorm is that the hydro construction guys, who are here for the next month and a half, are not working today, so the noise should be better, even if the lighting is not. If you haven't heard of it before, March Mystery Madness is a month-long mystery-themed readathon that encourages people to read mysteries, thrillers, all the different subtypes, whodunits, cozies, true crime, crime noir, detective stories, police procedurals, all of that in the month of March. You can read nothing but mysteries for March, you can read one mystery in March, and either way, you've participated. It's also a great readathon to compare with some of the other readathons that are going on. So for example, middle grade March is going on. You could read a Nancy Drew or Hardy Boys mystery. There are all kinds of mysteries that are aimed at that age group. There is the translate-a-thon that's going on, and there are all kinds of translated mysteries out there. I think some of the most famous are the Nordic noir that are translated from Swedish or Norwegian, but there are lots of others to pick from, so you could definitely let those overlap. There's also a sequel-themed readathon, and considering how many mysteries and thrillers are parts of series, it's just a natural choice to combine those. This readathon itself has a series of prompts, which are old, new, borrowed, blue, and again. Now, since the first group of those also sounds a bit like a wedding poem, there is also an additional bonus challenge if a wedding shows up in one of your choices. So let's go through first some library books and then some other books, mostly that I borrowed from my mother, who reads a lot of mysteries but didn't want to appear on camera with me, but I'm gonna try to see if she's willing to later in the month, because her tastes overlap somewhat with mine, but not completely, and I think we'd have a fun discussion. In any case, the first couple of things that I got out of the library for March Mystery Madness are the first two volumes of Kill or Be Killed. This is a comic crime series that is written by Ed Brubaker and drawn by Sean Phillips. I talk about Brubaker and Phillips fairly frequently on my channel, and I read some of their series almost every March Mystery Madness, because their specialty is both detective procedurals and noir-esque and noir hybrid series. Both in the 2018 and the 2017 March Mystery Madness, I read a couple of volumes of their series Troi Towel, which is now wrapped up, so I was looking for a new series from them to take their place in March Mystery Madness, and this is what I came up with. So I'm definitely looking forward to those. Since they're authors that I'm revisiting, even though it's a new series, I think that fulfills the again prompt, as well as new, because it is a new series. And it fulfills borrowed, because they are from the library. Also fulfilling borrowed, because it's from the library, is Babylon Berlin. This is the basis of the TV series that I know a lot of people are watching through Netflix, although apparently there are some significant differences. It's also a new series to me, so that fulfills new. And this is translated from the German, which means it fulfills the some of the translate-a-thon prompts. And there's blue on the cover, so there's another prompt that we're checking off. Good stuff. I'm definitely looking forward to this. Next up is a slightly more beat-up library copy of Mehmet Murat Sommer's The Kiss Murder. This is in a series that I also talk about every March Mystery Madness that I really enjoy. This will fulfill both again, because it's a series I'm revisiting and an author that I'm revisiting. This also fulfills some of the translate-a-thon prompts, because this is translated from Turkish. There's no blue on the cover, but there is blue on the spine and being beaten up. It's also old in the physical sense, I think. And being from the library also fulfills the borrowed prompt. Another series that I'm returning to is Ausma Zehanat Khan's series about the two Toronto police officers in the Culturally Sensitive Crimes Unit. This is her newest, A Deadly Divide, but if you watched my book outlet Boxing Day haul, you'll know that I also got the second most recent book in that series, A Dangerous Crossing, which I haven't gotten around to reading yet, but I think I will read this first. Because it is so new and I got it out of the library, I'm going to have to return this. I probably won't be able to renew this if I wait, so I will want to get to this quickly. This one, I believe, is based on the actual mosque shooting that happened in Quebec a few years ago, which I don't know why our Toronto police officers are going to be involved in a Quebec investigation, but I'll read this and find out. This is simultaneously a brand new book and a series that I'm returning to, so it's both old and new, has some blue, and it's borrowed because it is, again, from the library. And this is obviously very blue as well. The final book that I have out of the library is Idle Hands, or actually it might be Idyll Hands, because I've seen people say that this town is actually not pronounced the way I've been imagining it's pronounced. This is Stephanie Gayle's series about a detective in small town New England in the 1990s. This is the third in the series. I talked about books 1 and 2 in last year's March Mystery Madness. Yeah, this is another one that's fairly new that I should get to sooner rather than later because I'm going to have to return it. Alright, now we're going to get to some books that I didn't borrow from the library, but that I am borrowing from my mother. The first of those is Beverly Graves Meyer's The Whispers of Vivaldi. This is book, I think, 4 or 5 in the Tito Amato series, which is actually a series that I got my mother hooked on. I had the first 3 volumes of this and I lent them to her. This is a series in which the main sleuth is a castrato singer in Baroque-era Venice, which is a setting that you don't see a huge number of mysteries in, and it's been several years since I've read one of these, so I'm enthusiastic to get back to it. Another series that I started reading and then that she kept up with and I didn't is D.B. Jackson's Thief Taker series. This is a urban fantasy historical mystery hybrid in which the main character is essentially a private investigator in Revolutionary War era Boston, and he also has magical powers. So this is a hybrid of several genres at once. I find it really entertaining. I see this sometimes reviewed by people who talk about a lot of urban fantasy and sometimes get bogged down in reading this in order, and I think because this is framed in more of a mystery series style, it is actually easier to read these out of order. That said, this is the 3rd book in the series, and I have read the first 2, so I'm not actually reading this out of order. And I thought I should find a series that's completely new to me that I haven't watched adaptations for or read other books from the same authors. And so this is The Last Taxi Ride, which is by A.X. Ahmad, and this is a series in which the detective is a New York City taxi driver. As far as I know, this is the 2nd book in the series, and I haven't read the first, so we'll see how this goes. And then we'll get to some books that I actually own and have bought for myself. First up here is Paul Cornell's The Severed Streets. This is in a series that I think is called The Shadow Detectives, and it is an urban fantasy set in current-day London in which there's a set of detectives who can all view supernatural phenomena, so all of their investigations touch on that kind of thing. As far as I know, there are only 3 or 3.5 books in this series, and I think the publishing deal fell through, so there won't be very many more of these once I finish this one. I've read the first in the series. And I know there's a second, and I think there might be a connected novella, but I think that's going to be it once these are done. That's a shame, because I really enjoyed the first one when I read this a couple of years ago. This is a series that I've heard things about, but have never tried, and this is Tarquin Hall's The Case of the Love Commandos, which is in his Vish Puri series, and this is not the first book in the series, so maybe I should do some more research. But what I do know is that this potentially could check the wedding piece, because I believe the main case involves a couple whose family doesn't approve of their wedding. So it might succeed on the wedding prompt on that one. And finally, I have another author that I talk about every March, and that is Charles Todd. This is A Pattern of Lies, which is in the Bess Crawford series, which is the series in which the detective is a nurse serving in the First World War. I don't know that I'm going to get to this. In the case of authors where I have really read a lot of their work, sometimes I feel like they're the ones that I'm the least interested in getting to, which isn't necessarily fair because I always really enjoy these, but this will be if I have some extra free time to it. And finally is a book that I said I was going to read for the Cloak and Dagger readathon in December and didn't read, and that is another book that I borrowed from my mother, Let the Dead Lie by Malla Nunn. This is a series of police procedurals set in South Africa in the 60s, and I believe are loosely based on the author's uncle. I haven't read any other books in this series, although I know my mother has at least 3 of them, so if it's enjoyable, I have a few more to look forward to without having to worry about how I'm going to acquire them. This also fulfills the blue prompt because of the blue lettering. And I've dropped it. In any case, that is my plan right now. I always mix it up a little bit. There are a few other series where I had hoped that the newest book was going to be out in time and they're not, like Addie Tantama's series about the kind of humorous London detective series. I have the new one on hold at the library, but it's not out yet. Sajetta Massey's series about the 1920s lawyer. Again, the new one doesn't come out for a few months, so too bad that those aren't around. Because I think by the time they come out and my library holds come in, I may be mysteryed out. But we'll see. Are you taking part in March Mystery Madness? And if so, what are you reading? And are you taking part in any of the other crossover readathons that fit in with this? Because I'd love to hear which ones you are combining pieces for. Anyway, that's it for now. Ciao.